Happy holidays, everyone, and welcome to Merrifield's Gardening Advisor. Peggy and I are so glad you could spend a part of your weekend. Start the weekend off with us here on the show. So you're doing good?
Doing good, thank you.
Great.
Absolutely, and enjoying visiting with everybody who comes in, and we're doing all the fresh arrangements now.
Absolutely.
And going to parties. Too. Yes.
Well, the holidays are definitely here. You know, Hanukkah starts this evening. Christmas is just, I don't want to think how close Christmas is. A couple weeks away. So we've got some great decorating ideas for you. We are going to talk about fresh greens today, and it just smells so wonderful in here.
It does, and later in the show we'll show you a cute little picture of the fragrance of the evergreens, but we are going to be talking about using fresh cut greens in all of your decorating. And here, of course, is a picture that we used in one of our seminars, and it's showing using roping, pine roping, mixed roping. Works beautifully outside. It doesn't dry out, and that is important. I really try to encourage the use of the artificial for the staircases inside, or perhaps even on a mantle, because they're not. Those cannot be cut. I mean, cannot be put in oasis or in water. Therefore, they're going to dry out, regardless of how good they are when you get them. So I really recommend the beautiful fresh garlands for around your door and trailing around. But we're going to talk about conditioning greens, selecting greens, and how do you actually do those arrangements.
So it's a how-to. It's a hands-on today.
And then we're going to have a little bit of a surprise in the fourth segment.
Okay.
A little extra sharing.
That's right. And we will take your phone calls later on in the show, so we hope you will stay with us all morning, because we do have great ideas for you. Before we get started, just a couple of quick announcements. I mainly wanted to remind you that at Merrifield Garden Center during the holiday season, we have extended hours. So we are open Monday through Saturday from 8 a.m. till 9 p.m. For your shopping convenience, and on Sundays from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Did I get that right? 8 to 9, 9 to 7. Okay. So we do hope you'll come by and see what we have. Just such amazing ideas for the holidays and for gifts at all three Merrifield Garden Center locations. And while you are there, we hope you will make sure to visit Santa Claus. We have Santa at all three locations. At the Merrifield, of course, in his house is the real Santa that has been there for forever.
So many years.
So many years. And it's so neat to go through his house. It's just, there's so much to see and do and touch and be intrigued by. Of course, the snow dance and the press conference and that type of thing. At our Fair Oaks location, wonderful house and sleigh in our greenhouse, in our annuals house, and you can see them making the wreaths at the same time. And there's face painting going on there. And of course, at Gainesville, we have the opportunity to sit down at our cafe and have a wonderful snack or meal. And especially today, with it being so pretty out, bring your dog by and go to the dog park, because it is it's going to be a gorgeous day today. Going to be gorgeous. So that's our quick announcements today. Not a whole lot extra going on, just the fun of the holidays.
And it's going to be a good day to get outside and put up those garlands and get those wreaths on the door. And I do love to use the fresh green wreaths. And yes, Debbie is right. If you come by, you can watch the making of these custom wreaths, and it's fascinating to see them do it. And they will all have been dipped. I'm just so pleased, because we realize how important it is for these greens and so forth to go right through all the holidays. And so when those wreaths are prepared, they're dipped in the wilt-proof, let dry, and so forth, so you can you know that they will do well through the holidays, and you can watch. And you can also watch the making at the Fair Oaks location, particularly because we really do specialize in the custom arrangements.
I did forget to mention that the Santa hours are all found on our website, along with all kinds of other great tips and ideas and information. So merrifieldgardencenter.com.
Yeah. Let's go back to the next picture, which was taken a couple of years ago on my own front porch. And let me share with you some changes that I have made along the way. I really thought, gee, all I want are the clear lights, and we had clear lights for years and years. But then decided, along with a lot of other public places, because it's so much so less expensive, the LED lights. And they're kind of bright at times, but I've gotten accustomed to them now. I've used them a couple of years, and I really like them. Plus, I like the new look. And so here I put the garland, the fresh garland, around the door. I put the wreath on the door, which you don't see terribly well because it's a very dark door, and this was taken at night, you know. And then I like to use the fresh cut Christmas tree on the front porch and decorate it there because it's just so welcoming. I do that, and I often will do it on my back deck too, because it's just bright to look at. It greets you when you come in, and then you can see on the deck when you're going out. But do make note of the fact we've had a number of people coming in and buying evergreens for their containers, and that's such a good idea. I do highly recommend the boxwood. They are great container plants, and the spiral junipers and that sort of thing, along with the dwarf elderberries, really make good containers. Okay. Yeah.
You're gonna make a bow here.
Well, I promised it. We so often put this off. Let me be sure that we can see. We do a lot of bows, a lot of custom bows, and thanks to all this wired ribbon, they hold up for a long period of time. I'm going to show you that center loop, but I can tell you that it's not absolutely necessary to do that. But what you do actually is go from one side to the other side, one side to the other side, because if you don't do that, you will drop a loop. So I'm going to have my fine wire, 26 or 28 gauge wire, handy here.
That has been wrapped.
Yes, with florist tape. And I'm going to gather that. Let's see. Okay. Here, to be sure you see that. Gathered, and make that loop first. Twisting it over and going back behind my thumb and finger. Now I want you to see, that's the infamous loop. And if you say, I can't get that loop, you see where I'm holding it there, along with my scratched fingers. If you can't get that loop, just omit it, okay? Because with the wired ribbon, you can cover the center. Okay, I twist it to bring up the right side. Make the one loop go back to the back. You see? There we go. Watch the twist because it's single-sided ribbon. Make another loop, go back to the back. Back and forth. You cannot put two loops on the same side. Back and forth until you have as many loops as you would like. And you can make it a small bow, you can make it a big bow, but see, I'm holding all that right there. I'm going to make it a small bow because Debbie tells me my time's running out in this segment. Now I'm going to tie it off. I am holding that bow together with my thumb and fingers, and with that fine wire I'm going under that loop, and if the loop weren't there I'd be in the same place. And then I do a sleight of hand because I slip it out, pull that wire to the back, and tie it off. The fine wire is wonderful. If it's a heavy wire, you cannot pull it firmly enough to hide the center. So 26 or 28 gauge wire. And then you have a bow that you can use on just about anything, whether it's packages or a wreath or whatever. And because it's wired, you can do all kinds of fun things with that.
And we have some sheets at each of the locations to give you some instructions on that. Or
You can
feel
also
free to stop by and watch us.
Stand there and
Yes,
watch
absolutely.
is the very best thing to do. I know. I do read instructions. I really do.
You have to see what you're doing to be able to understand the
But
instructions.
I like for somebody to show me, whether it's the computer or what.
Right.
It's like, show me, please.
Yes. Okay, we're late, so we're gonna take a quick break. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. We're talking about fresh greens today, and what a wonderful part of the holiday season, especially if you've got the greens in your yard and you can go out and trim a few off and get double uses out of them.
And this is true, and it's safe to judiciously prune from your garden right now. And one good thing is with boxwood, if you've got boxwood that are big enough to do this, is to periodically go down into the plant and take some long stems, because that opens up the boxwood to both air and to light, and really helps to keep it healthy. You don't want to overdo it. 25% is enough to cut it one time, but then you can use them for your decorating. But Debbie, a lot of people can't do that.
Right.
They don't have the greens, or they're not big enough, and so this is something that has been necessary, as far as I'm concerned, for all these years that I have worked at Merrifield Garden Center. When we buy in a lot of these greens, okay, they come from some of our local suppliers, so they're fresh, a lot of it does. And then we cut the ends of those stems, always a fresh cut, and immediately they go into warm water. The warm water helps that to soak up, but the ends must be cut, a fresh cut, because they will have sealed up, and immediately put it into that water, okay? And we carry the boxwood. We have beautiful spruce and juniper and holly. Lovely, lovely mixture of greens. And I'm thrilled that this year we've had a lot of beautiful cryptomeria too.
So
one
nice.
of our suppliers of these beautiful evergreens has to do a trimming to shape things, and so we get a lot of these greens from him.
That's
So
great.
they're locally grown. They're absolutely beautiful, and yes, they are so fragrant. But whether you're doing it at home or coming into the garden center to buy these things, you will find them in water.
Right.
So that they stay fresh. And we have used Prolong, which helps to keep down the bacteria and so forth. And it's a good idea for you to do this at home. You also should do this with the arrangements. And so I highly recommend that. Let's go quickly through some pictures that I've put in here to give you some ideas of how to use these greens. A lot of people have window boxes, over the rail boxes, or freestanding containers. That's a wonderful way to have nice fresh greens inside the house, or to have it by your front door or on your deck. Cut greens. Oasis. Oasis soaks up water and holds water beautifully. And if you add to it inside, these things stay fresh. Sometimes you don't even have to add to it outside because they're out there where it's cool anyway. But these are simply branches of evergreens, junipers, cedar, magnolia, the wonderful yellow that you see pushed into that oasis. And now let's go to the next picture, okay? Which is the mixture of various greens. Look at the golden colors in here. Often that's hinoki, cypress, different cypress. There's some junipers. There's a lot of different greens that are a beautiful golden color, which gives it a lot of pizzazz. And as you can see in front of us when we come back to the desk here, there is an array of variegated holly. There's beautiful Ilex verticillata, which is the deciduous holly, and we've got lots and lots of that. And if we go into the next picture, here's mantles. If you are using greens on your mantle, whether you use your fireplace or not, please put them into wet oasis or in containers. And it's very easy actually to do that. And keep some water in them. You'll need to add water to it periodically. There actually are 3. Now this one has a place for candles, so ignore those for the moment. This is a plastic little container that we make arrangements in. And it's very easy to use, and it holds a full block of oasis. I have taped that on, but as I said, please ignore the candles for the moment because that's for an arrangement. There are 3 of these across that mantle, and the stems are pushed directly into that. You'll need to push some to the back also because you've got to weight this. You don't want it to fall off the front, but that's not difficult.
Good point.
Not difficult
Very good point.
to do. I think we have another...
One more picture, I think?
Yeah, one more picture that I'd like to share with you before we go on.
There we go.
Here we go. Now, on this particular one, there is on the mantle shown something we don't have anymore. Okay, this was from a previous time. But anything that's beautifully decorative, whether it's a mirror or a picture, can be used over. In lieu of the fresh wreath here, because fresh wreaths have a tendency to dry out. So that's where I recommend that you use artificial. However, on the mantle itself, again, there are 2 of those plastic containers with wet oasis, and I have cut the greens in such a way that they cascade over the sides of that.
Beautiful.
And then that center area, and that the other one had 3 solid arrangements, and into that you can put pine cones or you could put root, and I think we're going to talk a little bit more about that next week too. But in this one, you've got the opportunity to put candles or put ornaments or things that you really enjoy. So those are just some thoughts on what you can do to decorate.
Okay, hold that thought. We've got more to talk about. We'll be right back. Hi everybody, welcome back to Merrifield's Gardening Advisor. Peggy is about to show you something. She had to get up and be ready here.
Towering over you here, Deb. Sorry about that. But I need to get it up so you can see. One of the most important things that we do during this holiday season is have fresh greens in the house. The fragrance, the beauty, the symbolism. But we need to keep them fresh.
Right.
And that's a constant question for people who are coming into the garden center. How do you do that? We talked about conditioning them, being sure that when you cut them, you get them into water as soon as possible, use the Prolong and so forth. Now, there are some thoughts about arrangements that you use on your dining table where people are sitting. You don't want huge arrangements that block conversation.
Right.
Now, if it's not a sit-down affair, you don't have to worry about that. You may use fresh greens in these. As you could see from the camera there, you can use beautiful flowers in this. This arrangement will go through the holidays if you remember to take it to the sink, soak down that oasis every couple of days, drain it off, put it back where it belongs. As far, this particular one had carnations in it, as you could see. It's amazing how long carnations last. They last, and it's with that bow, you can't see it that well. There's carnations, there's pine cones, there's lotus pods. All of these are very symbolic through the holidays. You can slip that carnation right out of there if it's finished, and then you can clip another one and put it in. Plus, there are a lot of other flowers that do well in there too. There is a balance in this arrangement of different types of evergreens. I put a hurricane. There's a flat piece in here. I put a hurricane lamp because I love to burn candles safely on the holidays, and so I put that candle down inside and the hurricane on top. Alrighty, Debbie, I'm going to hand this to you so that you can safely put that aside. I'm going to sit this down and disappear for a second, okay? Absolutely necessary. And then I'm going to bring up a little how-to here. This is easy when you think about some of the elementary structure behind this. This is the basis. This is the form. Wet oasis. In this particular one, I have taped little candle holders into here so that I can put single candles. These are the ones you have to be careful not to let burn deeply down into the greens, because the greens are not flammable. That's the beauty of the fresh.
Right.
But nevertheless, you need to keep an eye on any candle that's lit during the holidays. I want to tell you that if you are a beginning arranger, let's say this is your dining table, you decide how long you want that arrangement to be and how wide you want it to be. And those are the first pieces that you put into that arrangement. These are narrower than this one, okay? And then you begin to fill in, not getting too high. I like to use one type of green for a lot of this and then go back and fill in with the other types of greens. Now I'm again going to sit that aside and talk to you just a little bit about how you cut these greens. And here again, yes, I'm advertising, but I believe in good tools, and I like to keep track of my tools, and I like to keep them in good shape. I cannot get along without a good pair of Velcro pruners.
Velcro pruners.
They are fantastic, and they're wonderful for cutting these larger stems, okay? Just great for that. Taken care of, they'll last for years, okay? And then I have my Joyce chins. When I'm ready to make that arrangement, doesn't matter which green you choose, I'm choosing this one. Particularly for beginners, if you measure 2 pieces, you'll set the length. And on this heavier green, I'm going to make a mess here. With my little Joyce chin scissors, I'm going to cut that back and then make another fresh cut on there. And then that will go deeply into the wet oasis. And if you put one on each end, you've set your length. And then you do the same thing on the other side, again taking away all of that greenery.
You're kind of making a little extra length on the stem to be able to go in there.
Yes, absolutely, and don't want to mess up the oasis. You don't want to overfill your oasis. Then you have set that. You can then shift to another type of evergreen, and I do love this particular one. It's a beautiful cedar that has some little berries on it, okay? Out come the wonderful clippers again and make those cuts. You can then come in and fill with that, filling in somewhat. You can use some beautiful variegated holly. Look at the color tones that are in that. It's wonderful, okay? And just for a second, let's quickly go through the pictures that we have here. I would like
show
to
you what the finished products look like.
Like to run through some of those pictures, okay? Here is a nice long centerpiece. Tina at our Fair Oaks location did this one last year, and she's been cranking out some gorgeous ones in the last few days, and she's used lilies and roses here. Now, if the lilies and roses, as I said, don't go totally through the holidays, it is very easy to replace those. And let's show you another wonderful idea. Here's a candle adapter. This is a little adapter that fits into a candlestick, and that you can put the candle in so that you can have your cake and eat it too. So there are a lot of wonderful Oasis pieces, and if you have any questions about these, please ask us. This is that same little adapter put into a glass piece, and it has colorful balls and then a candle stuck into the top of that one. And I think, is there another one? Again, this is a circle. This is a circle of Oasis, and it's the same circle that we use to make our Advent wreaths with, okay? So let's come back for just a second and let me show you this little adapter, okay? And I will have to grab...
And we have to get to break here soon.
Okay, I'm sorry. This is one way, and you tape this down, but you see, that fits into your candlestick. This holds water. This now holds your candle, and you put your little pieces in here. Alrighty?
Okay, all right. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. We've just got so much to show you today. There's not enough time in this hour.
Absolutely. Well, I hope that we've shown you enough to get you intrigued, because just do it. You know, I'm showing you a good way to begin.
Right.
But bring those fresh greens in and just do it. I do want to share with you, this is, I promised, it's going to be a fun little segment because it's going to talk about Advent wreaths, which, by the way, have been so popular this year. I cannot believe how many wonderful Advent wreaths. But this is made in a round ring. It is not an Advent wreath, but it could be if I had put candles into it. It has a wonderful mixture of greens. Okay, into that, Debbie, slip. Does that saucer have water in it?
A little tiny bit.
A little bit. Hold it up. A wonderful thing to do, you need to put this where you can water it every couple of days. The best thing that I've found to put this into is a saucer from the greenhouse. Because it will hold water. It has little feet that'll hold it up off your furniture, or you put it into something else.
Trying to do this without spilling the water.
Let's sit it back down, okay? Here are the things that you can use that wreath form. It's just, you see, and it comes in different sizes. This one is set up for an Advent wreath. This particular design does not have that, but you know, poinsettias are a wonderful part of the Christmas season. I like to enjoy poinsettias, and if you water them properly, they too will last. In the heat of our homes, they will sometimes drop lower leaves, and that's just something they're going to do. But as they get older and drop some of those leaves, you can hide those legs if you put it into a design like this. And there's plenty of room to do that. Okay, now you've got that beautiful greens, fragrant greens, with your pretty, pretty poinsettia.
Right.
So that's great. Now, the Advent wreath.
You had some assistance with your Advent wreath.
Well, actually, now this was not assistance with my Advent wreath.
This is their Advent wreath.
This was assistance with my daughter's Advent wreath. Now, what she did as a teaching tool, she put up the meaning of Advent, and their pastor, Father Saunders at Our Lady of Hope, is quite the writer. He's written some books, and he wrote for the Catholic Herald, and he did a wonderful job on the history of the Advent wreath. So he's got this propped up, and she's running through the children with it. He's got his candles handy. He's got his ring handy, and we cut greens from my house. Okay. And including some bay laurel, and then he set out to do it. Okay.
Now this is Eamon doing it.
This is Eamon. Okay. Eamon is the 6-year-old, okay? He had some assistance from his 13-year-old brother, Liam, okay? And Mom is watching over. Here, Liam is helping to cut with the Joyce Chin scissors, knowing all these years they've been exposed to these. They know how to be careful with them. And he's trimming the greens to put into that round form that's wet oasis. Now, in the next, I just love this. Michelle took these pictures as they were doing it, and I saw them and I said, I really need to use these because I'm always encouraging not only that you do these things yourself, but that you include the young people so that they have those memories, they have that history, they have that knowledge.
Look at the elf there. Look how cute.
This is little elf, Eamon. He's reaching into the bucket of greens, which we conditioned, and he is using the Joyce gins judiciously, and he's placing those cut greens directly into that round form. Now, these children have watched us all doing this all these years. And then he's putting the candles in. Now, a point that sometimes you need to shave those candles when you put them into those rings because they don't always fit exactly the different sizes. And sometimes it's better to put it into the ring before you put it into the oasis. But anyway, he's putting those in. And now he's actually showing you his finished product.
He did a great job.
Well, I think he did also. And I am going to turn around in this sort of a grand finale before we go to our question series. This is one that I'm going to use at my house because I was bad girl. I didn't get mine done last Sunday, okay? But now it's ready to go. Everything looks good on a pedestal. Everything
Absolutely.
does. And so I've set this into a little compote, and it gives it a lot of grace. And I've used different cut greens, some from the garden, even the little weeping blue atlas cedar. And into that I also placed some of my sweet bay. You know, there are some of these things that are not only wonderful for you to use for decorating at Christmas, but there is a great advantage to using some of these greens in your garden because they become a wonderful part of the landscape. Maybe they're a part of a border if they're the Cripsey, for instance, which is that beautiful golden hanoki. There is a hanoki cypress out there of the right size for everybody.
There you go.
Even the little miniatures up to 2 feet, 3 feet, 4 feet to a big tree.
Great.
So there's no excuse for not having a cryptomeria in your garden.
Well, as you see, the phone number's up on the screen there. When we come back from this break, we'd love to talk to you. Get your questions, 703-387-1046, and we will see you in just a couple of minutes. Okay, it's phone call time, so give us a call if you have any questions, 703-387-1046. We'd love to talk to you. Our first caller today is Emma, who's calling from Triangle. Hi, Emma.
Hi, good morning.
How are you?
To you?
I'm fine. Happy holidays to you.
Thank you. You too. Good to hear from you.
Yeah, it's nice to see you and talk to you. My question is about storing caladiums over the winter. I have a caladium plant that I just fell in love with this year, and I don't want to lose it. I want to keep it and bring it back out for another go-around next year. I've already removed the bulbs from the dirt, and I've kept them a little bit moist so they didn't dry out. But can I just submerge them in a bag of sphagnum moss? And do I completely cover them up with the sphagnum moss? Do I have to keep them moist by misting them or something so they don't dry out?
No, traditionally you don't keep them moist. The idea is to let them dry and put them in a cool place where they will not freeze. I don't know if you have a garage that you can put them in the corner of, and yes, you can store them loosely in a paper bag, okay, and tuck them aside where they will not freeze. For me, caladiums have been the biggest of the challenge to get through the winter. I don't have that many problems with the large leaf colocasia. I don't have that many problems with the cannas. They go into the areas where they won't freeze and go in dry, and it's fine. I'll tell you, the best luck that I ever had with overwintering my caladiums was when I had grown them in some small pots, and I cut them all off and literally just tucked that pot in the corner where it wouldn't freeze and forgot about it, you know. But that's pretty much what you do. You don't keep them moist, okay? And
Okay.
I wish you luck with that.
Well, I have the dirt that they were in and the pot. So should I just repot them back into the?
Why don't you give that a try and
Okay.
just put it in the corner where it won't freeze, and let me know
Okay.
next spring if it makes it.
Okay. All right.
Good luck.
Thank you, and
Thank
Merry
you.
Christmas.
Take care. Bye-bye. Okay, let's see. Cindy is calling from Gaithersburg. Hi, Cindy.
Hi, how are you?
Good, and
morning,
you?
Cindy.
Great, thank you.
Good. What's your
I
question?
have a question. I was wondering, I received a red bud and a birch seedling in the mail, and I was wondering how to keep it and when, and before until I plant it in the spring.
You can't plant it now.
I didn't know. I didn't know if I could plant it or not. That was my question.
Yeah. You need to plant it now
Okay.
because, number one, they need to go through some cold and some dormancy and so forth, okay?
Oh.
Now, you could put it in a large pot if you chose to do that, but the best thing for you to do is just to go ahead and put them into the ground outside. Watering it well, you'd be surprised. We're dry right now, you know?
Right.
We could use some rain. Generally, over winter, I don't have to worry too much about that, but anybody that has just planted plants, which is an ideal time to do it, needs to thoroughly water that area and then check back within a few days to be sure that that area in the root ball has not dried out, okay?
Okay.
You don't want to just go out and water it without checking because you may keep the ground too wet. And right now, plants aren't using up that water all that much, and so it would be easy to keep that too wet. So there's a fine line. You got to watch it. But
Okay.
my advice would be go ahead and put it in the ground. The alternative to that would be put it in a nice sized pot in a protected spot and go through the winter that way, okay? And I
great.
wish you luck with those, okay? It's a good
All right,
time
thank
to
you
plant.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
great holiday. Okay, let's see. Judy is calling from Oakton. Hi, Judy.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
I have a question. I bought 3 beautiful little tiny tibachinas from you last summer. They're my favorite flower. And they're now about 4.5 feet tall, and they're very woody. So I dug them up and put them in huge pots and brought them in. But I'm wondering, and they're doing okay. 2 of them are doing great. One of them has a lot of brown curling leaves, and I don't know what that means.
Well, they're going to drop some unless
Oh, they
they've
already
got
dropped a lot. But
Yeah.
they now have new growth, which
Right.
is great. Well, my question is, should I fertilize them and all my house plants at this time of the year, or should I wait till spring?
You slack back on fertilizing houseplants and things like that. Once a month you can give them something half strength perhaps. But your houseplants and those things in particular don't want a lot of growth to be forced out, okay? This is their semi-dormant time. And so you should be able to take that tibachina through. Shouldn't be a problem and fantastic. Just don't put it out too soon next spring because it won't like freezes, okay?
Right. I've
But
been really
as long
careful
as
with
it gets some light and you keep it just slightly moist, you don't want to keep it sopping wet, keep it slightly moist, you should be able to take that through the winter.
Yeah, 2 of them, and they do have a lot of new growth on them, 2 of them, and third one is curling up. It's brown, has a lot of brown on it, and I'm not sure if it has some kind of a disease, whether I should isolate it or it's just...
Or you can literally cut that plant way back.
Really? It's
Yes.
heavy. It's a thick, woody plant now.
But hey, get your shears,
I'm always afraid to do that.
get your Felco
Felco
pruners
pruners.
out and cut it back quite a bit.
And
you know.
leave the other 2 alone since they're doing
Well,
great.
just leave them alone. And number one, you're going to learn something in the process. You're going to find out which one did best. You know.
Okay, I'll definitely do. They're absolutely beautiful. I hope everybody gets them from Maryfield because they're wonderful plants.
They are
you.
beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
You too. Bye-bye. Okay, we're going to take a quick break and come back with more of your phone calls.